approaching Lake St. Louis, that earlier crash is out of the way. I'm Frank Led in the MiklaszSportingOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This is the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
Welcome into the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX. Obviously, you can catch us streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. If you're watching us, say hello to all three of us, Bernie, Miklasz, Matt, Pauley, Kevin Wheeler, all of us in three spots. Bernie's in the lair, Matt's at the ballpark, and I'm in the studio with another studio behind me. It's an interesting view. Fellas, how we doing today?
Good to be with you.
Are we anticipating a smooth return home? Because it's been a tale of two seasons. Homestand's good, road trip's bad.
You would hope so. It's a big series coming up against the Brewers team that seemingly have gotten back on track, despite they had a really, really tough loss yesterday, for sure.
Yeah,
They had a closed-door meeting after the game ended yesterday because Pat Murphy was so unhappy with the way they've been playing defensively, and they talked for about 20 minutes after the game yesterday. But generally speaking, after that tough start for the Brewers, they've been playing some pretty good baseball here.
This is kind of a loose, weird question because it's too early. I don't know if there's any true meaning to the home road thing, right? I kind of put it out there as a teaser. Like, is it a thing or is it just who you've played? Because they've played better teams on the road, right? You're playing in Boston, you played in New York, you played in Atlanta. Is it that, Bernie, or do you think there's actually something to, like, the mentality, the approach, the prep, or something else?
No, I do think it's a thing simply because until you start winning on the road, your record's going to be bad on the road and more attention will be drawn to it. And you'll have to hear about it all the time. So I think, the only way they can kind of shut this up and then normalize everything is if they start winning some road series. I mean, they haven't won one all year and they've been really good at home. And in a way, I can't understand it because, the Cardinals offense at home has been outstanding and it's been really, really lousy on the road for the most part.
Which is weird, right, Matt? Because normally Busch Stadium is the tough place to hit, and it's the road where they've had more success.
Yeah, and look, I think they'll have a better home record than road record when all is said and done, but it's not going to be to this end. Weird things happen at the beginning of the year. I don't totally know why they're playing so poorly on the road.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to watch for sure. But sometimes teams get off to a really hot start on the road, and it always normalizes out. Same thing at home. Sometimes teams can't win the first game of a series. Sometimes teams can't win the last game of a series. And we talk about it for the first 2 months of the season, and all of a sudden it's the All-Star break, and you look at the numbers, and everything kind of normalized out.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you guys a question that Derek Gould brought up to me. I joined him for the best podcast in baseball today. People can find that. Just find Derek on Twitter. You'll find the link. I wanted to ask you guys this because I think it's a fascinating, almost chicken or the egg question. And this is the simple version of it, but how much does having success mean to development to you guys? So when we're talking about developing a team or a player, does learning to win, is that a thing? Or is it more about let's get better as players and more good players means teams win?
I would say the latter. I would say, the more good dudes you have, the more chance you have of winning. And I think once you start winning it definitely gives you some confidence. You believe in yourself more.
Yeah.
And you feel good about the situation. But I still think this really comes down to talent. That's the number one requirement. And then all the other stuff is just, it's adjacent stuff that's good, to talk about. But I think it still comes down to talent. Not that the most talented clubs always win. That's not the case either. Or just like the most highest paid teams don't always win. But I think talent rules. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not important, but I don't think it's the most important thing. And again, talent is going to win out. Learning how to do things the right way. And sometimes, more often than not, if you do that, you're going to win games. If you got a bunch of guys who play games the right way at the minor league level and they're talented, they're probably going to win some championships. I spent 2 years working in the Royals organization. And when I was at low A, I had guys like Salvador Perez and Mike Moustakas and Eric Hosmer and Danny Duffy, guys who were all part of those back-to-back World Series years for the Royals. And all those guys won championships in the minor leagues as they were coming up. And they talked about that a fair amount, that they were developing winning players. But again, all those guys I mentioned are really, really good baseball players. That was the first thing. If along the way you can win some games in the minor leagues and win a championship. Hey, that's great. It doesn't hurt you, but it's not as important as just being the most talented team that plays the game the right way.
Right. And because there was the thing there, you guys remember, Bernie, I know you'll remember that the team they were emphasizing for a long time, like winning in the minor leagues, right? The Memphis Mafia was winning, and that winning was helping them learn how to win. And I was like, it's kind of the other way around. Those are good players, which is why you're winning, right? Like John Jay and Alan Craig, all these guys were good players.
Exactly. And the other thing I'd throw in here real quickly is that if we're talking specifically about the Cardinal situation, I don't think you can really compare it to as a general principle, because the Cardinals organization, first of all, as we know, in the whole minor league player development system, it is undergoing a massive renovation with new people down there. And then, frankly, the major league team has just kind of it's been a jumbled mess, with some really thin areas. And so you're putting young guys up on a team that, has kind of lost its way from being a successful team. And so I don't know how the environment up here can help young guys. I maintain it's up to the young guys to take over the team, as soon as they're ready, because it's going to be their team. So let's go, take ownership of it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, what we get lost in sometimes when we look in the past is that, well, sure, those young guys came in, they won, they fit in right away, but you had Albert Pujols.
Yeah.
You had Molina, right? So, like, to me, this is what this team has got to get to the point where they have a core of top-tier players, pitchers and hitters, and then you can start to worry about who's doing what on the I don't want to say secondary. Fundamentals matter, right? Doing the right things matter. Running the bases well matters, but it doesn't matter as much if you're just not good enough.
No, exactly right. And hey, Tony La Russa had some teams, as great of a manager as he was, and it, will always be considered a great manager, number 2 all time in wins. He had some teams that weren't particularly good defensively. He had some teams that weren't particularly adept at running the bases. But when you have at various times a core that has Pujols, Molina, Edmonds, Holiday, on and on and on and on and on. Plus Matt Carpenter, Chris Carpenter, Wainwright, all these great closers. You're fine. So the Memphis Mafia can come up and fit right in and play a role. But the winning part has already been established.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. All right, so we got about a minute left here, and we'll talk about this more. But Matt, we got the news today that there was the roster move that I want all three of us to kick around. But Riley O'Brien is here, Ryan Fernandez down. Hopefully, a short stay for Fernandez. Hopefully, he can get straightened out.
Yeah, that's the first and most important thing here, that Fernandez does get straightened out, because we saw last year how good he can be, and he's got a live arm, and he's got some pitches that can be very effective. The pitch shape, though, needs to get fixed on those. They need to become effective pitches again. So you take the pressure off, you put him on a schedule. That's the thing that we don't talk about enough. When he was trying to get things right at the big league level, they couldn't schedule out his appearances. Now he goes to Memphis. They can schedule out when he's going to pitch and get him right and get him back here sooner than later.
All right, that's Matt Pauley at the ballpark. Bernie Miklasz is with us. Kevin Wheeler here. It's the Redbird Rush Hour. We got a lot to do. We're going to do more about this, Riley O'Brien and what we know about him and what Fernandez will end up doing, because it's also a sign that they have given in a little bit on the idea that there wasn't help coming, because you do at least need to try when something's not working. We got more on the offense later on. I think we got some really good stuff on Jordan Walker as we get deeper into the show as well. So stick around. The Redbird Rush Hour continues with Bernie Miklasz, Matt Pauley, and Kevin Wheeler here on your home for the Cardinals, 104.1 KMOX.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, here's some good news. They cleared that crash over to the right shoulder, northbound 55, just before Revis Barracks. That's a good easing of the volume headed through that stretch as well. Now, due to that, those delays are easing pretty quickly from about Lindbergh. Northbound 55, the ramp to Revis, the left lane remains blocked on that ramp. So you can make the left turn, but you're dodging around a tow truck to make sure that left turn onto Revis Barracks now from northbound 55. Still some delays into downtown St. Louis, westbound 55-64, from about the East Bridge split headed towards downtown, crossing the Poplar. Volume as well through the press section, westbound on Highway 44, headed towards the Poplar Street Bridge. Southbound 170 on the brakes now south of the Parkway, headed towards Highway 64. Out west, westbound Highway 70, just a pocket of volume west of Highway 79, making your way out towards Lake St. Louis. That accident at Lake St. Louis is gone. just off the pace traffic now westbound on Highway 64 from Winghaven out to Wentzville. Sponsored by the Penn Mutual Life Insurance Company. Chances are you have a lot of people who depend on you, your family, maybe even employees. Life insurance from Penn Mutual can provide you peace of mind and protect you and the most important people in your life. Ask your independent advisor or go to pennmutual.com/STL. Frank Ladd in the MiklaszFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
All right, guys, I want to tell you about Game Day Men's Health. You can find them at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. So happy to have them on the Redbird Rush Hour, by the way. They're phenomenal people. They're great at what they do. And I guess the simplest version of what I'm going to say is this. If you're not feeling right, if you're dragging, you got heavy legs, maybe you're just not keeping muscle the way that you used to, energy's down, maybe the libido's down a little bit, go see them. They have something that can help you. That's what they do. And they're going to find out specifically what will work for you. So what they did with me is we did the regular consultation that everybody does. You do a blood test, and they look and they say, okay, here's where we can help you. And for me, it was testosterone replacement therapy. The numbers were low. I didn't do anything to make that happen, but I'm now benefiting from fixing it because I didn't just sit back and accept it. I checked it out. I went in and I took care of it. And you can do the same by checking out GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Everything is overseen by board-certified physicians. The staff are experts, and they're very cool, by the way. It's a nice, relaxed environment. You will get a price explained to you up front, and that's it. It doesn't change. If something has to change in the treatments, it's all going to stay that way. You got 3 area locations: Chesterfield, O'Fallon, Missouri, Glen Carbon, Illinois. I'm telling you, it's working wonders for me. It will for you too. GameDayMen'sHealth.com, and get back to the top of your game with Game Day Men's Health.
The legendary Fast Eddie of Fast Eddie's Bon Air and Cardinals Hall of Famer Jason Isringhausen.
Hey, Izzy, what's going on, man? Looks kind of like you got something on your mind.
Well, Eddie boy, I'm thinking you may need to change the name of your place from Fast Eddie's to $5 Eddie.
$5 Eddie? Man, why in the world would I call it $5 Eddie?
Well, I was in there the other day and bought myself the coldest beer I've ever had in my life, and I gave the guy $5. And then I went over and got some of those huge cold water peel and eat shrimps, and I gave her $5.
Well, I never really thought about that. There's a lot of $5 going on in there.
And then I went back up and got one of those huge Fast Eddie cheeseburgers, and I gave them $5 again.
Man, definitely has a ring to it. I think there's a lot of $5 going on.
Yeah, and I had about $100 worth of good time.
Well, that's good to hear, and it's easy to do with live music 7 days a week and a big old party going on that big, beautiful outdoor patio.
Well, like Mr. Shannon always says, if you're 21 and in the mood, head on over to Fast Eddie's Bon Air in Alton, Illinois, and maybe take a selfie on that old Harley Davidson of mine.
Who else has got a Cardinal Hall of Famer's Harley Davidson sitting out on the patios for some selfies?
Only Eddie boy.
Termites cause over $5 billion in property damage every year, and most of it is not covered by homeowners insurance. Protect your biggest investment with Rottler's Proactive Termite Control. Schedule your inspection today. Visit Rottler.com to get started.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 1041 KMOX.
All right, you're back in on 1041 KMOX, the Redbird Rush Hour. We got Matt Pauley, Bernie Miklasz, Kevin Wheeler with you here. Let's talk a little bit more about Riley O'Brien. Bernie, I mean, look, he's to me a guy. He wouldn't qualify as young. He's 30, but to me, this is a guy you got to find out about. I mean, this is a guy that throws 97, 98 miles an hour. He misses bats. Last year was interrupted by injuries, so we didn't get to see a lot of him, and we've seen him in short spurts and short stints. I don't know how long he's going to be here, but I want to see him while he's here.
Yeah, I've been a little surprised that they hadn't, given him a shot up here this season before now. I think it says something, quite frankly. I hate to be that way.
No,
but I
that's
think
a good point.
Tells me. And the other thing about him is for all the velocity and his pattern of piling up a lot of strikeouts in the minor leagues or whatever, it hasn't translated to major league success. I'm not sure why that is. And I do know that in the organization, there is this underlying feeling about him that, boy, if he could ever, put it together, we could have something. But they also have gotten to the point where they expect disruptions. They expect him to have, even if it's not the kind of injury that puts you on the injured list, there's something always not feeling right or something to, hey, I'm concerned about this. I'm not questioning anything about him other than some, pitchers that throw hard, they're not all wired the same. Some of them are almost living in some kind of apprehension where they expect something really bad to happen because they're throwing 99.
Yeah, for sure. Matt, and this is the kind of guy, though, whether it's this, this is the kind of guy that Milwaukee finds another one of, right? Somebody goes down, somebody leaves. They've got a dude somewhere that's going to plug in. And maybe it's not always the first guy they try, but one of the first 2 or 3 guys is going to do something.
Yeah, and shameless plug, we'll have Riley O'Brien on the pregame show tonight on
Nice.
the Cardinals Radio
Good.
Network, so you'll
Nice.
hear a little bit from him as he was in the clubhouse today. Yeah, this is the guy that other organizations make work, and the Cardinals are still working to help pitchers become the best version of themselves. And I think it's still a work in progress. I think it's going to get a lot better once Chaim Bloom takes over, because that was one of his specialties, both with Tampa and with Boston. I will say this, in terms of him not being with the club before now, he did deal with a little bit of a shoulder thing during spring training that slowed him down. And I think once that happened, that stopped him from making the opening day roster. His numbers were good in spring in very limited time. They got him to Memphis, and I think they wanted to see him pitch in Memphis for a few weeks just to make sure he can stay healthy. He's been healthy. He's feeling good. And now the next step is for him to do it at the big league level.
All right, he's up. We'll see. We'll see if he and Swanson can actually get into games over the weekend. Definitely something to monitor as we go forward. All right, we're also going to talk a bit more about Jordan Walker and a few of the offensive things that are going on right now. That's coming up on the Redbird Rush Hour here on 104.1 KMOX.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at Cantor Injury Law. So as you know, I'm a lawyer, haven't practiced in a long time, but I did plaintiff's work and defense work, so I have a pretty good understanding of it. I have a pretty good idea of who's who in the firmament of plaintiffs, attorneys, and for my money, Mark Cantor is the guy. He's a great attorney. He is a great practitioner. He's put together a great team. He was born and raised here. He lives here. He works here. He wins here. Call 314-628-ALL-9s or CantorInjuryLaw.com. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based on advertising.
Hey, St. Louis, this is Ben Barnett, board-certified master arborist and owner at Timberline Professional Tree Care. As a local small business owner for the past 24 years, I always do my best to shop local and support our community. Recently, 2 of the largest tree contractors in the region have sold to out-of-town investment groups. This means that the new owners of these companies are not invested in quality, customer satisfaction, or safety, except for how it affects their bottom line. Timberline Professional Tree Care was founded in 2001 and is focused solely on giving you, the customer, the safest, highest quality product while providing the best customer service before, during, and after the job. I've poured my heart and soul into tree care for the past 24 years, and we aren't going anywhere. When it comes time to take care of your trees, I ask that you shop local and call me, Ben Barnett, at Timberline Professional Tree Care, 636-479-7475, or online at stltreecare.com.
The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is coming back to St. Louis on May 7th. Join us at Energizer Park for the round of 32 as St. Louis City SC hosts Union Omaha and plays for the historic trophy. Get tickets now at stlcitysc.com/Open Cup.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
It's awful, hon.
My brother got life insurance from Ethos and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Johns Hopkins University has found that just mild hearing loss doubles your risk of dementia. So hearing loss isn't something to ignore.
But hearing aids are so expensive and ugly.
Not anymore. Meet Audien Hearing. You can get nearly invisible hearing aids without a prescription starting at $98 a pair. And they're ready to use right out of the box. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health. And with over 1 million customers, Audien is easy to trust. Visit audienhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Whether you're shaping up a small yard or tackling serious acreage, Steel walk-behind, zero-turn, and stand-on mowers are built to get the job done. Shop online or at your local Steel dealer. Steel, let's go mow.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Northbound Highway 55, the ramp to Revis Barracks remains partially blocked. That left lane is blocked at the end of the ramp down at Revis Barracks. Crews are working on clearing a crash off the McKinley Bridge into North St. Louis. So you've got delays into downtown St. Louis, westbound on the McKinley Bridge from across the river. Into downtown St. Louis, still some pockets of volume westbound 5564, crossing the bridge, starting at the Eads Bridge split, making your way into downtown St. Louis. Out of the city, we are delay-free now, westbound 64, passing Forest Park, out to 170. Still a pocket of volume eastbound on Highway 64. 64, passing 170, southbound 170, a pocket of volume in that left lane from the Parkway headed down to 64, and a little bit of volume as well still westbound on Highway 64 west of Winghaven out near 364 in pockets, passing Lake St. Louis. I'm Frank Led on the MichaelSportingOutlet.com Traffic Center.
At 5:30, a cloudy sky, 76 downtown at the Arch. The president had a lot to say to reporters during his flight to Rome, where he is attending the funeral of Pope Francis.
On trade, the president said he will not drop the 145% tariffs on China until he sees what he called something substantial. He also said he's speaking to a number of people from China about the tariffs, but he did not say whether he has spoken to President Xi. On Gaza, Trump said he spoke to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and that he pushed Israelis to get more food and medicine into Gaza. While on Iran nuclear talks, he simply said, "I think we are going to have a deal." Linda Kenyon, CBS News, Washington.
There's a not guilty plea in the case of a murdered healthcare CEO.
26-year-old Luigi Mangione has pleaded not guilty to a federal murder charge on the killing of 50-year-old United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Prosecutors say they are seeking the death penalty in the federal case. Authorities say Mangione gunned down the CEO outside a Manhattan hotel on December 4th as he arrived for United Healthcare's annual investor conference. Some health insurance critics have rallied around Mangione amid frustrations over coverage denials and hefty medical bills. United Healthcare says that Mangione was never a client of theirs. While Mangione faces both state and federal murder charges, his defense team is seeking to have the federal case take precedent because it involves the death penalty. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Country music legend Willie Nelson turns 92 years old next week and has just released his 154th album.
Yeah, here's to you, here's to me. If you're counting, Oh, What a Beautiful World is Willie's 154th album, his 77th solo album. I'll show you the best I can show you, baby. The album focuses on songs written by another Texan, Rodney Crowell. Willie will turn 92 April 29th. His schedule still full, 32 shows, May through September. Oh, what a beautiful world. Russell Scott for CBS News, Dallas.
Showers fade quickly tonight, low 55. Some sun for tomorrow with the high of 69. Few showers for Sunday with a high of 72. Right now, 76 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Another RX Watch brought to you by Onder Law.
Welcome back to RX Watch. This alert is disturbing.
Right. A while back, we learned that companies like Johnson & Johnson use a mineral called talc in baby powder and other products.
And studies show that talc, when used for feminine hygiene, can cause ovarian cancer.
Now listen to this. RX Watch has learned that the talc they use is being mined in China.
Right, and talc mined in China contains heavy metal contaminants like chromium and magnesium, which are known to cause cancer. But China doesn't care.
So China gets the jobs and we get contaminated talc in our baby powder.
And ovarian cancer.
Right. With their specialized tests, the medical team at Onder Law can help you know if your ovarian cancer was caused by talc.
Onder Law has helped women for years with free and confidential consultation. You need to call Onder Law's pharma attorneys at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
Call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
That's 1-800-RX-WATCH or go to rxwatch.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hi, Stacy with Fairwinds Rivers Edge Senior Living in St. Charles. Are you a senior seeking a fun retirement? Do you want less work and more play? Do you want to enjoy great food that you don't have to cook? Then I know. Stop what you're doing right now and call Fairwinds. Set up a time to visit and have a meal. Meet some of our awesome residents. Check us out online at fairwindsriversedge.com. We hope to talk with you soon.
Join the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra for Dvorak's Cello Concerto, Radiant Warmth. Conductor Ruth Reinhardt makes her SLSO debut with an evening that opens with Grażyna Baciewicz's soulful concerto for string orchestra and Paul Hindemith's defiant Matthias der Mahler. Then, rising star Andrei Ionisa performs Dvorak's unforgettable cello concerto. April 26th and 27th at Stiefel Theater. Tickets at slso.org.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint by a lot, backed with our 25-year transferable warranty. Paint a house, shield a home. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos,
steel, aluminum, cedar, and more. We are the only coating company selected by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where all 3 episodes concentrate on unpainted brick. If you maintain or own a business with a tired-looking building, you owe it to yourself to look at Rhino Shield and our beautifully durable color schemes. Evaluations are free. We're making buildings pop and be noticed again, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks, exceeding expectations every day with our products, people, and performance. Now is the time to call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or go to 877-25rhino.com and see how honest and transparent we really are. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is coming back to St. Louis on May 7th. Join us at Energizer Park for the round of 32 as St. Louis City SC hosts Union Omaha and plays for the historic trophy. Get tickets now at stlcitysc.com/Open Cup.
In the 70s, baseball player Jerry Kelly decided to do something different.
Thanks for calling Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
This year, the company Jerry started decided we'd do something different.
Thanks for calling Jerry Kelly Heating, Air, and Electrical.
And electrical.
JerryKelly.com.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 1041 KMOX.
All right, back into the Redbird Rush Hour. Bernie Miklasz, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. Time for the Game Day Men's Health Peak Performer. I'm going to just focus on Matthew Liberatore because he's been so good. 6+ innings in every start so far this year. On his last 2 starts, 6+ in both of those. Total of 2 runs allowed. And those are against 2 of the best teams in baseball, the Phillies and the Mets. So Matthew Liberatore is today's Game Day Men's Health Peak Performer. Get back to the top of your game with Game Day Men's Health. Bernie, where would this rotation be without Matthew Liberatore? I mean, what a huge development, and how good has he looked against good teams?
He's been exceptional. In fact, I think he's been so much better than maybe what people assume, because I did one of my number dives today, and this guy's, he should be evaluated more on his fielding independent ERA, because he's only walked 2 hitters, so he's got impeccable control. His fielding independent ERA is 1.86. It's like tied for the 4th best in the majors among starting pitchers. He's also in the top 3 in terms of innings per start. He also is number 2 in the majors among starting pitchers in strikeout walk ratio. And I could keep going with this. He basically has been, statistically, first 4 starts, he's been a top 5 pitcher in the major leagues.
Man.
Starting.
This is where the runway year, transition year thing has actually worked, because Matthew Liberatore might not get the opportunity to even be in the rotation if not for that. They put him in, and he's performing at a pretty high level. Still a tiny sample size. We'll see what it looks like at the end of the year. But the opportunity that he has is a direct result of the approach that they were taking before the season got started.
Yeah. And Byrne, this is the kind of guy that, people that were prospects evaluators thought he could be.
Well, exactly. And that's why, the Cardinals deserve credit for finally, belatedly perhaps, getting him into the rotation and committing to it. Because I have a feeling, my fear was that they're going to continue to yo-yo him between starting and relieving. And he's got the maturity, and he's picked up the knowledge to be a really good starting pitcher. He's very confident now. And a lot of his pitches are just so much better. He's throwing 5 different pitches now. Right-handed batters. Here's an interesting thing about how good he's getting. His first 2 starts, right-handed batters, hit him up pretty good. His last 2 starts, he has controlled right-handed hitters because he's using a different pitch assortment.
Yep.
So he really has a feel for pitching now, and I'm really excited. And by the way, you know what his strikeout rate is when he goes up against left-handed batters? And there's a lot of left-handed batters. It's 39% this year. Yep. He's something else, man.
Man, that is no joke.
Really, really good.
No joke. That'll be fun to watch tonight against Milwaukee. All right, everybody hang tight. We got to hit a quick traffic, and we're going to come right back and talk about Jordan Walker, plus take some of the questions and comments that we're getting on the chat coming from YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. But first up, let's hit Frank Ladd and see what's going on the roadways.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
air conditioning, and electrical. Still dealing with delays coming into North City, crossing the McKinley Bridge, headed up north there, north of downtown St. Louis. That was an earlier crash that they're working to get out of the way. Still some volume in the downtown as well. Westbound 5564 from about the King Bridge split, crossing the Poplar Street Bridge. That left lane remains blocked northbound on Highway 55 at the exit to Revis Barracks. It's the exit ramp lane that is blocked there. So they've got the vehicle out of the way, just an emergency vehicle still on the scene. So those delays are long gone. Southbound 270, those delays really not really there most of the afternoon between Page and Doherty Ferry. Southbound 170, you got a pocket of volume in that left lane from the Parkway to 64. I'm Frank Ladd on the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This is the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
All right, picking back up with the conversation. Bernie, Matt, Kevin hanging out with you till the top of the hour. Matt's got pregame starting at 6:20, 7:15 first pitch tonight. I mentioned Matthew Liberatore. He's starting, and Chad Patrick, right-hander for the Brewers, going tonight. We're going to get some questions in a second from the chat that's happening. We're getting messages from all of our social media outlets. We appreciate those. One quick thing before we do that, or not, and this may not be quick, but one thing before we get to that. So we can focus on Jordan Walker, but this can really be any of the hitters that we're looking to see more of. Could be Nolan Gorman. It's not Victor Scott because he's been handling his own. He's doing a really nice job. But is there a time in this year where the runway runs out, or is that just not this year? That it's after the year, if any time? Is there a time that we go, man, it's just not happening, and not necessarily bury or get rid of the player, but maybe tailor his appearances to the kinds of pitchers you're facing when you reach a certain point? Is that just after the year, or could that happen in season to you guys?
I find it hard to believe that they'd pull the plug on him and send him to the minor leagues anytime soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, they basically said they wouldn't do that. Now, That said, I did a deep dive on what's been going on with him lately, and it's pretty discouraging. I'll just being honest. I'm rooting for this guy, but I mean, his swing and miss is this season's like in the bottom 8%. His strikeout rate is in the bottom 12% of major league hitters. His chase rate right now would be his career worst, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
His ground ball rate has gone down a little bit, but it doesn't matter because right now he's having what would be his career worst or career high pop-up rate. And the other thing is when they throw him a breaking pitch this year, he's 1 for 26. And when the thing that he does is he chases non-strikes all the time. And when he does that, he's about 1 for 30. I mean, his strike zone judgment is still the number one thing, and that's a big deal that's holding him back. Matt Pauley, how does he get better? Like, what does he do? What do you think the trajectory can be?
Well, he still has the underlying things that you like in terms of hitting the ball hard and bat speed and all that sort of stuff. So it's in there. He's got to make some better decisions. That's the first thing. Swing decisions is probably the first thing that he's got to go. And I mean, Bertie, you went through the numbers. Last 15 games, he's a 125 hitter with 21 strikeouts and 56 at bats and an OPS at 351. So, I mean, the numbers are terrible. To Kevin's question, I do think there's a line you don't cross. Last year, Nolan Gorman, that 5-week period he had where you just knew. It got to a point where he said, okay, it's not doing this guy any good being in the big leagues anymore. Let's do something about that. That line still exists. I don't know if the line's pushed out a little bit further because of the year that it is. I would assume that it is. But yeah, to your point, Kevin, there is not a player on this team that there is not a performance-related line that they can't cross where role changes, team changes, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's interesting to me is, like, I'm not even talking about a demotion necessarily. I think the first step, if this doesn't get fixed, is being more situational with who he faces. So any right-handed slider guy, sorry, your day on the bench, man, because you're not doing it. And that, to me, is still months away. That's not an April or May thing to me, unless, Matt, what you're saying is true, where it's just non-competitive, in which case you maybe make him the fourth outfielder. You find spots for him against guys, Bernie, that do things that he can handle, right? Maybe lefties where the breaking ball's coming towards him, although you have to worry about the changeups there, or maybe fastball, curveball guys more than slider guys.
That's a good thought. that means they would have to protect him. And I don't know. Maybe I'm being unreasonable, but it's his third year in the majors. Now, granted, he didn't have a full year last year, hardly. But at some point, it makes sense to slot guys in where he would have his best chance of success. But you can only protect a guy so much.
Right.
If he's going to keep chasing breaking pitches out of the strike zone, and he just can't stop, that's the problem. He just can't quit it. That is a really serious problem that could really limit him in his major league career. I just hope he gets more. What's the word? Just gets more mature. Some of his baseball acumen just gets sharper. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him. I mean,
do too.
I want the best for him. We all want the best for him.
Yeah.
Hey, they could use him as a defensive replacement.
He can be the new Siani.
He's good.
Yeah, no, he's done
really
a good job.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has. He's got a plus rating defensively. He dramatically better. So there you go. He's Siani.
Matt, any last thing before you bug out?
Yeah, just like I said, we'll have Riley O'Brien on the pregame show tonight. So he had some interesting things to say about his path and what he's been working on. So hopefully people will be tuned in for that.
All right. So in the next segment, we're hitting questions from the chat. Before we do that, Bernie, tell us about your friends at Saliga.
I'm really happy to do that. They were in the Miklasz home yesterday doing the maintenance check. They do a couple of those a year for us before the summer, before the winter. And, we love the fact, and we've been Saliga family for about 16 years. We love the fact that Saliga has this priority club maintenance program, and it's so easy and it doesn't cost much, and it gives you the peace of mind because if they catch a problem, and by the way, they caught a minor problem yesterday when checking the air conditioning unit, and they were able to just, adjust it and fix it at minimal cost. Now, if this is something that had gone on and on and on, unchecked by the priority club membership that we have, it very well could have resulted in a big mess and a big repair bill. And so this is the perfect example. And again, this happened with us yesterday. It's the perfect example of how Saliga can save you money with this priority club. And we've saved money long-term because it extends the lifetime of our equipment because you keep the maintenance up. There are no surprises. So listen, we love them. We've been a Saliga family for 16 years now, and I would encourage everyone to get in touch with them at SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. You got the phone number there, and look at that priority club and all the services they do. We love them. Our neighbors love them, and I am proud to recommend Saliga Heating and Cooling to you.
Tomorrow, some of us will wake up and it will be our last day on this earth. It will be unexpected and without warning. Each year, 250,000 people will die from medical malpractice, the third leading cause of death in America. 43,000 will die in a car or truck crash. 6,000 will die working on the job. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan, and we represent many of these families. It's awful. Unfortunately, many times, some of these family members are not speaking and never get to say, I'm sorry or goodbye. If you're at odds with a loved one, listen closely. Pick up the phone. Call them. Say you're sorry. I promise a huge burden will be lifted from your heart and your soul will be renewed. Even if you're not wrong in your own mind, it doesn't matter. Death is bad enough. Death without closure and love will follow you the rest of your days. Trust me on this. Morgan & Morgan. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Traffic from the michaelsflooringoutlet.com traffic center.
They're starting to see more volume headed eastbound at Highway 64 from McKnight, headed up towards Big Bend. Southbound 170 is heavy, ramping onto eastbound Highway 64. That left lane from the Galleria Parkway is where you start stacking up. Southbound on 270 this afternoon, not bad between Page, Gordy Ferry. Southbound on 170, as I said, heavy between headed towards Highway 64. Westbound on 64, we thinned out completely passing Forest Park. Just a little bit of volume coming around the bend, headed towards downtown St. Louis. Westbound 5564, headed from about the Eadsbridge split, just around that bend there. Not quite stopping, go just a little off the pace. And out west, westbound Highway 70, we are delay-free through St. Charles County, west of the Blanchette Bridge, headed out towards Lake St. Louis. I'm Frank Lett on the michaelsflooringoutlet.com Traffic Center.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
All right, Redbird Rush Hour, 104.1 KMOX. Bernie Miklasz, Kevin Wheeler hanging out. Matt had to bug out a little early, getting ready for pregame there. They needed the studio for a quick thing, so Matt will be coming back at 6:20 with Cardinals pregame, and, of course, 7:15 first pitch. Bern, we're getting a few questions. I'm going to throw them up on the screen while we're talking about them, but Several people brought this up, but I'll use Greg's. He said, shouldn't Sajasi be getting every day at bats? If not, isn't it better for him to be in Memphis playing every day? I wouldn't go so far as to say every day, but let's get him in there because and he's hitting.
Well, see, that's the thing. I've staked out a position on this, and I'm actually going to be doing some work on this to see some recent history. A young hitter doesn't have to play every day.
No.
And what amazes me is that that's the feeling now. Maybe because the Cardinals have said it so often.
Could be.
People believe it. But it's not true. You can have a guy start 2 or 3 games a week, and he can come off the bench and pinch hit. Or when you're moving other people around, he can come off the bench and play 1 of 3 positions for you. He would be really busy, but you have to be committed to giving him playing time.
Right.
I'm not trying to be too much of a smart aleck, but this ain't exactly the 1927 Yankees offense. Okay. I mean, it's remarkable. It's like, oh, well, he's young. Well, you're playing other young guys who don't hit. So what, why do you X him out? So I don't get it, but there is a role to be carved out here, and look at how much he's learning from the coaching up here. He told Katie Wu about that the other day. He said, it's unreal every single day.
The prep
stuff that they're prepping me. He said, I can't get enough of it. Isn't that valuable as well for a guy maybe playing 3 times a week? Isn't that a good experience? He's getting all this great coaching, Descalzo and Jay and Brant Brown and who else? Stubby Clapp works with him.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't have to be, well, he's got to play every day or go to Memphis.
Right.
No, there's a middle ground there. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he definitely needs to play. Like, he hasn't played since Wynn came back. And, there are some opportunities there with maybe some other guys scuffling a little bit, things like that. But I would agree. It doesn't have to be every day, but it does have to be regular. Like, even if it's 2 or 3 starts a week, that's regular, right? You're getting some action, and there will be, look, you're not. Here's an interesting thing to me. Like, the messaging from the team has been a little bit of mixed bag. We've talked about that, right? Where, it's a reset, it's all this. But then some of the decisions don't seem to reflect that, but then others really seem to overemphasize that. And I would like to get it focused on like a plan, right? So if it's a reset, great, then we're going to keep doing that. But if we're trying to win games, we do need to do some things that make more sense rather than riding through the same guys every day or the same relievers all the time, whatever.
And this is somewhat, I'm being somewhat facetious, but not much. I still am just utterly amazed every time I check Baseball Reference and Fangraphs to see that 102 plate appearances by the Cardinals designated hitters this year as a group. They have 1 RBI. 1. But hey, Sajasi. Hey.
Let's throw him in there.
Sajasi, you're on the card today. You're going to be the DH.
Yeah.
See, this is what you're talking about. Luken Baker's done very little. Right-handed bat, done very little. His DH numbers are poor. Burleson's DH numbers are really poor. Contreras' DH numbers aren't good. So why don't you? Sajasi is hitting 400. Why don't you give him a couple turns as your DH? They have 1 RBI in 25 games. They're designated hitters. That is beyond embarrassing.
Well, Nolan Gorman's getting a DH today, and he hasn't DH'd much because he missed some time. So he needs to be in there more because he's a guy I think needs as much run as Jordan Walker does. I think he needs that much run. His upside is higher than Alec Burleson's. I know they love Burleson. I think he can play, but I don't think his upside is what some of these other power guys can be. If anybody's got to sacrifice for the time being, to me, it's him.
No, I agree. And if you go back to since the All-Star break last season, his power numbers, his on base numbers, but his power numbers have just gone straight down to the basement. I mean, he does not have a home run this year. He only hit a few after the All-Star break last year. And, there's no power in his game now. There's none. And he doesn't beat up on right-handed pitchers either. So what exactly is the point? You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
he's not entitled to play anymore. They need to look for other sources of offense.
Yeah, especially when you need the run for Gorman. And when we talk about Sajasi, you need ABs, and he's actually performed. Sajasi's actually swung the bat okay. So if you do want to be more competitive, getting that guy in there at the expense of someone, it has to be someone. And there will be days off, right? Like hopefully they'll keep him around so that Wynn can get a day off here or there because you're going to have to manage the back. You can't just say, here you go, buddy, play every single day.
I agree. And I'll be honest with you. I do worry that that's kind of going to be the attitude because he wants to play every day and they love him.
Yeah.
But if you love him, we all love him too. But if you love him, take care of him.
That's we do it with pitchers all the time, right? We're always careful with pitchers, which is smart. You got to do the same thing with certain guys on the position player side too, because this is a guy, he's a long-term piece, man. I mean, his upside as a hitter is still to be determined, but he's an everyday player. We already know that. He's an elite defensive player who has offensive potential. You definitely want to make sure we're able to keep that guy in the lineup. All right, Bern, it's been fun, man. I love doing this. We're about out of time here, but you have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy some ball, and then we'll catch up again Monday, both on DGS and here on the Redbird Rush Hour.
You got it.
All right, that's our buddy Bernie Miklasz joining us on the Redbird Rush Hour. We got Cardinals baseball coming your way. Matt Pauley has the pregame at 6:20. Then the first pitch coming up at 7:15 with Matthew Liberatore getting the start. He'll be going up against righty Chad Patrick, who I don't think the Cardinals have seen. So that's always interesting when they face a guy that they haven't seen. That's all coming up after the news here on KMOX.
Cardinal Cowboy here. Years ago, doctors said I'd never be independent after a bad car accident. Well, I proved them wrong. When proving who's the best in garage